So I hope all of you are doing well. Nice to see many of you who have come back. And I see at least one new face. So welcome everyone. And yeah, so as some of you know, I am in Nepal at the moment. And well, we have a power outage and the Wi-Fi is out. And let's see if my internet connection holds up. So yeah, in case it does crash, I'll try to log back on. So I apologize in advance if there might be technical difficulties. Okay, so but before we get started, now as Shanti mentioned, it's the 5th session. So most of you know already, but let's just take a moment to adjust our motivation here at the beginning. So please think that the purpose of my life is to benefit all sentient beings, and therefore, in order that I may be able to benefit sentient beings in the best way, I myself must first achieve the state of my highest potential, that of complete enlightenment. Then and only then will I have the skills, the knowledge, the ability to work for sentient beings' welfare in the best way. And therefore, in order to achieve enlightenment, I need to put into practice all of the causes that lead to enlightenment. And therefore, I need to learn about those various causes and various practices. And therefore, I'm going to participate in the lecture here today. Okay. So, So although we say we're going to start at 2 o'clock Indian time, then we also ask people to arrive 10 minutes early. So when you arrive to the Zoom early, then you can just kind of sit and I don't want to be highlighted. Okay. Just sit and practice some mindfulness of the breath meditation, which I think many of you know. Just sit in a comfortable position and focus on the sensations in your body as you breathe in and out. And so there's a few ways to do that. One is either at the rising and falling of the abdomen. Some of you might feel it more, the chest expanding and contracting. Some might feel it, the breath passing over the skin in this nostril and upper lip area. So wherever it is that the breath is manifesting most prominently for you, then just sit quietly, and as you breathe in and out naturally, try to hone in your awareness on those sensations in the body wherever they are strongest. Okay, and then as that happens, then when other thoughts come, then try not to engage with them, try not to follow after them, but just let go. And I like this analogy of thinking like a river, right? So many times people, when we start meditating, then there's this thought that I somehow need to stop all thinking and stop all the thoughts from coming. And a lot of people ask me about that. But here, see, the nature of the mind is clear and knowing, which just means that various thoughts will appear, right? So actually, it's impossible to stop thinking, right? So to use this analogy of a river, the river is always flowing, right? And so most of the time, just like with our thoughts, if we get too caught up in the content of our thoughts, then we can get swept away, just like, getting swept away by the river, okay? But the answer to that isn't then to, stop the river, trying to, block it or dam it up, that is not fruitful. But rather, if we just come onto the bank of the river, we can then, watch the river go by, not get swept away, not damming it up. So in a similar way, with this mindfulness practice, we are trying to keep our focus on the breath, but when other thoughts or external sounds, whatever might arise, then we don't try to stop them, nor do we engage and get swept off away with them, but rather like we're just observing, impartial observer, and trying not to have either clinging for the pleasant thoughts or sensations or feelings we might have, nor aversion for the unpleasant, okay? And therefore we can stay as a impartial observer, okay? So at the very least, then when we are waiting for the session to start, when we're waiting for the people to log in, then we can practice that. But I definitely would encourage you all to integrate that very basic practice into your day. And we were saying in the very first session that practicing some kind of mindfulness before we start with these verses here that we're going through, when the mind is most calm and clear right at the beginning of the day, then we can then build up a meditation habit like this. Okay. And then the second piece of kind of housekeeping I wanted to say is, at least now on my screen, right, I see 8 others, and I've seen all of you before, so that's very good. But if for some reason you are busy and you miss a session, then please, by all means, these sessions are going up on YouTube. And so, not to advertise myself or my teachings when there's so many other great teachings online, but it would be helpful to, listen and watch the lecture that you have missed prior to the next class. I mean, normally that would go without saying, but I'm saying it anyway. Okay. All right. So now, where we are in the text. Okay, and I said that because I'm not going to now do a review, because what tends to happen, my review, we don't have so much time, and then when I review things, then we spend more time on review, and then it gets very difficult to progress the text, okay? So this this kind of plea I have for you to, either come to the sessions or listen to the lecture. If you can't, then that is, for the benefit of the whole group, so we can progress more of the text, okay? I'm not trying to be, I don't know, a strict draconian teacher or something, okay? So now, where we are in the text, which I hope you all have memorized, okay, but if not memorized, at least have downloaded, is the stanza on the common graduated path of the great capable being. Okay, so if you are new, then at the beginning of this text, the method to transform a suffering life into happiness, there is the direct meditation on the graduated path containing all the important meanings. Okay, so the third page into that. Okay, independence upon that, even if I achieve mere liberation, since there is no sentient being of the 6 types who has not been my father and mother, please bless me to think I must fulfill their purpose and turn away from the lower happiness of nirvana. Then please bless me to generate precious bodhicitta by equalizing and exchanging myself with others, and to follow the conduct of the conqueror's sons, the 6 paramitas, and so forth. Okay, so here, independence upon that. What is that? So that is the graduated path of practice for the middle capable being. Okay, so this is the one we talked about in some level of detail last class, right? So remember again that these three capable beings, then they're differentiated by their goal for their practice, okay? So the small capable being, mostly their motivation is to get a good rebirth in their next life, right? And avoid getting rebirth in their next life. And then the middle capable being wants liberation from samsara, just for themselves alone, okay? So then we talked about how samsara is the cycle of existence, that is the uncontrolled process of rebirth due to our karma and afflictions. And so they then identify the causes of samsara and then seek to abandon them. And then seeing that the root cause or the root of samsara is the grasping to the self, they then cultivate the wisdom that realizes the falseness of the grasping to the self. In other words, the object held onto by the self-grasping mind, doesn't exist, and the mind realizing emptiness is the one that discovers and realizes that. So then they meditate with the motivation to get liberation for themselves alone, okay? And then they practice the three higher trainings, and gradually, then, if they're able to practice well like that, then they will achieve mere liberation, okay? So here it is probably good to note, right? Because later in the stanza, it says the lower happiness of nirvana, okay? So we have to distinguish between a few terms that sometimes get a little bit confused and mixed up, okay? So we have nirvana, we have liberation, we have enlightenment, okay? And then we have we can say lower nirvana and non-abiding nirvana, okay? So have you all heard those various terms? Yeah. Maybe the easiest one, right? Liberation, okay? So liberation means liberation from what? Then there's liberation from samsara, okay? So that is achieved just when the grasping to the self, right? The grasping to inherent existence of the self is abandoned. And then we had also talked about this. I'm not sure if I talked about this with you, but there's a few things. When we talk about this self-grasping mind, right? It is a mind, okay? That holds on to an object that doesn't exist, okay? Now, there's also what we call the seeds, okay? There's the seeds of the self-grasping mind. And so that would be the potential for the self-grasping mind to arise again in the future. Do you understand? So let's say for other types of afflictions like anger, okay? So I hope none of us have a manifest mind of anger operating right now, right? Okay? But, well, I can speak for myself, then I know I have many seeds of anger within my mental continuum. And then when in the future, if I meet with certain causing conditions, like, people cutting in front of me in line, or I don't know, someone insulting me or something like this, then those seeds coming into contact with a proximal cause can then, make the anger arise in a manifest way. Do you understand? Okay. So the seeds are then like the potential for that certain affliction to arise again in the future, okay? Now, to achieve liberation from samsara, one needs to abandon both the grasping to the self as well as its seeds, okay? And that's what it means to be liberated. One has abandoned the root cause of samsara as well as the seeds. All right. So now nirvana, right? They say ngange le depa. So ngange is suffering. Le depa is like passing beyond suffering. Okay. So then that is the same as liberation. Okay. So it gets a little bit confusing now, because you have like the standard liberation, right, and nirvana. Okay. So when those aren't qualified with other kinds of words, you see the mere liberation. Okay. So what the mere distinguishes it from is the great liberation, right? The great liberation is the equivalent of full enlightenment, or that of Buddhahood. Okay. So now, what is that? So the Buddha also, okay, has abandoned the afflictions, has abandoned their seeds, but there's something called the imprints, or the bakchak in Tibetan. Okay, I forget the Sanskrit word. I looked it up some months ago. But in any case, what this the normal analogy that's given is, if you have a Tupperware, like a plastic container, and you put onions and garlic inside, right? You leave it out in the sun, and then after some hours you open it up. Even you throw away the onions and garlic, the smell will still linger. Okay, so that's like very subtle. It's not onion and garlic, but there's still some stain left, so the imprint is like that. Okay, now how it functions is then the afflictions and their seeds are what we call the obscurations to liberation. Okay, so obscurations, obstacle, what prevents someone from attaining liberation is the afflictions and their seeds. So if you want the goal of liberation, you need to abandon the obstacles to achieving that goal, right? Makes sense. And that is the afflictions and their seeds. Okay, now the Buddha has not only abandoned the afflictions and their seeds, but also these imprints. So what these imprints do, how they then manifest, these are what we call the obscurations to the omniscient mind. Okay, so the Buddha is known, right, as the omniscient one, who any one of the Buddha's consciousness, the mental consciousness, or even the five sense consciousnesses, can then realize all the phenomena directly at one time. Okay, that's what it means to be omniscient. Okay, so you might have heard this. Okay. Forgive me, I'm going a little bit off track, but this will help illuminate something important. There is one analogy of the magician in ancient India, okay? And this magician would then put rocks and pebbles or sticks on a table, and then they have a kind of powder that they throw into the air, and it affects the eyes of all the people in the audience. Okay, then he casts his spell, and then everyone whose eyes have been affected by the powder, they see on the table horses and elephants. Okay, it's a magic trick, right? It's amazing, right? All right. So the people in the crowd, they have this appearance of a horse and an elephant on the table, right? And they believe, right? They think it's magic. It's so amazing, right? They uproar, they applaud, all this stuff. Okay. So now the magician himself, he knows there is actually no horse and elephant on the table, but his eyes also have been affected. He was there in the room. Okay. So he has the appearance of a horse and an elephant, but no belief. Okay. Now, the latecomers, right? Their eyes have not been affected by the powder, so they don't have an appearance. They just see the stick and stone on the table, and therefore they also don't believe that there's an elephant there because they see the stick and the stone. Okay, all right. So this analogy is then related to the appearances that different types of beings have. Okay, so the person who has not trained in philosophical tenets, they have the appearance of true existence, of inherent existence, of all of everything that we see appears to us as being truly existent. And so someone totally not trained in philosophy would have that appearance and then also believe that the appearance is real. They believe that the appearance is in accord with reality. Okay? All right. So now there's the next being, someone who has realized emptiness. Okay? We can say an Arya being. Okay? While they are in meditative equipoise on emptiness, and they realize emptiness directly, then there's no appearance of true existence, right? Because what are they realizing directly? The lack of inherent existence. In other words, emptiness. So what it means to realize something directly is that it appears to that person, right? Remember the Smoky Mountain Pass, right? We don't directly see the fire, yet we realize it, right? What it means to directly see something, we directly see the smoke. It appears to our eyes. So this Arya being who's in direct meditative equipoise on emptiness, okay, the emptiness directly appears to them, and so therefore, since the lack of inherent appearing, true existence is not appearing. You understand? Okay. So therefore, they don't have the appearance of true existence. But when they arise from the meditative Arya means someone to realize emptiness directly. Okay, that's what that means. Arya is like exalted being, and they're exalted in the sense compared to an ordinary being like myself who is unable to realize emptiness directly. Okay, all right. So then this Arya being, post means after meditative equipoise, when they arise, then how things appear to their eye consciousness is exactly like how it appears to my eye consciousness. Although, I do wear glasses, so if they have better vision, then maybe it appears more clearly. Okay, but anyway, this appearance of true existence is the same. Okay? Do you understand? But since they've realized the truth, since they've realized emptiness during their meditation, then they're like the magician. They have the appearance of true existence, but no belief. Okay? All right. Now, the third one, the latecomer. That, remember, no appearance, no belief. That's like the Buddha. Okay? So it's only the Buddha that no longer has the appearance of true existence in any of the consciousnesses. Okay? And so what this stain, this imprints, okay, that is what causes the appearance of true existence. Okay? So these imprints then are the main thing that needs to be abandoned by someone who is on the Mahayana path. That is what is the main obstacle to achieving enlightenment. Do you understand? Okay. So now, remember, we have liberation, we have nirvana, okay? And then we have the lower nirvana, right? The mere liberation. as opposed to the great liberation, enlightenment. Okay? So you can't say, that the Buddha hasn't achieved liberation, right? But the Buddha has achieved the great liberation as opposed to, mere liberation. The mere liberation is just abandoning, grasping to the true existence and its seeds, right? Whereas the great liberation also abandons the imprints, right? And then in nirvana, what the terminology is, right? The lower nirvana, right? And then they have what's called non-abiding nirvana. You've heard this? Okay. So what does that mean? Actually, okay. Well, yeah, we'll talk about this more. But you see, there is this stanza, or actually it's just 2 lines from Abhismaya Alamkara. Shepe sila mine shing, ninje shila mine dang. Okay, so it's very important. All right, your Tibetan lesson for the day. Okay, so shepe sila mine. Okay, so shepa, right? It means consciousness, but in this case, it also means like through knowledge. Okay, so through knowledge, sila mine. Si is samsara. Sila mine, ne means to abide. Okay, so through knowledge, one doesn't abide in samsara. What kind of knowledge? Knowledge realizing emptiness. Okay, so through the power of realizing emptiness, one then, doesn't have to abide in samsara. One can achieve liberation. All right, but that's not all. Ninje shila mine dang. Okay, so ninje is compassion. Okay, and we said that compassion, in general, is the wish that someone be free from suffering. But here, it actually is talking about the Bodhisattva, or the Mahayana practitioner, right? And so it's the great compassion that not only just wishes sentient beings be free from suffering, but takes personal responsibility to free them, by oneself alone. So through the ninja, through this great compassion, she is peace. Okay, and what that means is this lower nirvana. Okay, so mine is again not abiding. Okay, so the Mahayana practitioners, through realizing emptiness, they don't abide in samsara, but through their great compassion, they don't abide in peace. Okay, which is what we're talking about here. Turning away from the lower happiness of nirvana. Okay, so that is a few lines down, but anyway, that is the kind of laying the groundwork of this terminology, right? So we have nirvana and liberation, and then each of those, right? There's the lower nirvana, or the lower liberation, that's attained by, actually it's attained by the fully fledged middle scope practitioner. That is their goal, okay? But the Mahayana practitioner, they're not chasing after those, right? They don't want mere liberation, but they want the non-abiding nirvana, or the great liberation, or complete enlightenment, zope sangye. Okay? All right. So now, why does a Mahayana practitioner then not want, or not strive for this mere liberation? So here, this is what we're talking about. Since there is no sentient being of the 6 types who has not been my father and mother, please bless me to think I must fulfill their purpose. Okay, so and turn away from the lower happiness of nirvana. Okay, so there is this quotation from the Bodhisattva Tokme Zangpo, which Lama Zopa Rinpoche has quoted a few times in the 37 Practices of Bodhisattvas, this very seminal text. So if your kind mother sentient beings who have cared for you in kindness since beginningless time, are suffering in samsara, what good is your own happiness? Therefore, to take the responsibility to free them from samsara is the practice of a bodhisattva. Okay? All right. So here, the point is, okay, actually, there's one more quote I wanted to give. Okay. So there's another quotation from Chandra Gomin in the letter to a student. While you see that your relatives are engulfed in the ocean of cyclic existence and are as if fallen into a pit of fire, there is nothing more shameful than to work for your own liberation, neglecting those whom you do not recognize due to the process of death and rebirth. Okay, and he goes on. The infant on the mother's lap cannot do anything and suckles milk which flows through love, while through that same love the mother endures many hardships. Who, even among the very disreputable, would like to abandon his or her mother? Who, even among the most disreputable, wants to leave and abandon those who provided a home, who look carefully after the child with compassion, and who are afflicted without refuge and suffering? Wow. You understand? Okay. So you see, okay. Yeah. So there's two basic ways to generate the mind of bodhicitta. And the one is the 7-point cause and effect and instruction. And this first point, recognizing that all sentient beings have been our mother, right? And then okay. Before we get into all of that, okay, there is this another concept you need to know, which Shanti asked about last time. It's the self-cherishing mind. So remember, we were talking about self-grasping as the main obstacle to achieving personal liberation, right? So the self-grasping is grasping onto or believing in inherent existence, right? Independent mode of existence that actually phenomena don't have, okay? Whereas the self-cherishing mind is the mind that conceives of oneself, although we're just one person, to be more important than, well, all the infinite sentient beings. Right? All right, okay. Right? Do you understand? It's like I'm number one. I'm the most important one. Okay? All right. So you see, this thought that holds ourselves to be kind of, more important than others is the main obstacle to achieving this mind of bodhicitta. That is the one that, please bless me to think I must fulfill their purpose. Okay? So the mind of bodhicitta, remember, we were just saying how compassion in general wishes for others to be free from suffering. But the great compassion found in the Mahayana practitioner takes on personal responsibility to do this, right? Saying, I must fulfill their purpose. I must free them from their suffering, okay? And so if we see or if we conceive of ourselves as being, you know, a little bit more important than others, then, yeah, why would we kind of sacrifice our own well-being to work for someone else's best interest? Okay. So the example that is given in the text, they talk about the two, the father-like Bodhicitta and the mother-like Bodhicitta, and there's a story that's related in an ancient sutra that talks about a child who's fallen into a filthy pool of water, right? And so the mother, seeing the child fall into the water, but it's unable to swim, would think, you know, and might even scream out, "Oh, may my child be saved. Will someone save my child?" Right? So there is a wish that the child be free from the suffering. But the father, who does know how to swim, then, you know, not only has the wish, "May my child be free," but actually jumps into the pool and saves the child. You understand? So I kind of joked, but we can imagine this scene where if we were wearing some, you know, really nice clothing, right, that was going to get ruined if we jump into the pool, right? Then we see the child fall in, and if we don't have, you know, if we haven't worked on our self-cherishing mind so much, we might like look around and see if there's anyone else going to go in and save, because we don't want our clothes to get ruined, right? Okay. So this mind, right, that is kind of the obstacle for us to, you know, make personal sacrifice to save others, that's the self-cherishing mind in operation. Okay. So now, us aspiring Mahayana practitioners, this is the main kind of enemy, because it's the main obstacle for us to achieve the mind of bodhicitta. Okay. So then these two ways of generating bodhicitta have their own particular strategies to combat the self-cherishing mind. And so this one about the the 7-point cause and effect instructions, it's actually trying to lift up our level of concern in others' well-being by remembering that all sentient beings have been our mothers, right? And then when we really reflect on all the kindness that they've given us, not just once, but, you know, countless times since beginning of samsaric rebirth, right? And then we reflect well, then as the Master Chandragoman was saying here, you know, it would be very disreputable, very shameful to abandon our mother, right? And so he's calling on us to kind of, you know, reflect on the type of person we want to be. So even the people who've never come to a, you know, Mahayana lecture or Dharma class, anything like this, then even in the world, you know, we hold people that, you know, abandon their mothers. Worldly people even see that as being kind of, blameworthy, right? So now we who, you know, are followers of the Buddha, then of course we need to hold ourselves to a little bit higher standard. Okay. So yes, worldly people consider that you know, it would be very blameworthy to abandon our mother of this life. Okay. But now here, when we combine it with this recognition that, yeah, there's been beginningless lives, and in each of our lifetimes, when we've had a mother, then of course we can reflect when we had countless human rebirths every time we had a mother. Then even in the animal rebirths, we can consider all the hardship that animal mothers go through for their children. And I think it was this class where I gave you the permission to watch Netflix if it was the Netflix on the animal shows, or not Netflix. Then you can also look on YouTube, right? Amazing stuff that animal mothers do for their children. Okay, so I'm not saying okay, just watch YouTube and say like okay, those are like cute penguins. But when you watch those YouTube videos, you have to think, okay, that oh, I have been a little penguin just like that, completely helpless, shivering in the cold in Antarctica, and my mother then shielded me. My mother went to get food for me, right? Wow. Right. Then you got to make it very real and say like, wow, unbelievable kindness that my mother gave me while I was a penguin. Okay. And then by this, going through life after life after life, since beginningless samsara, rebirth, right? Then it becomes clear that all sentient beings have been our mother, not just once, but many, many times. And so then there's this thought, right? That, although in this life, okay, maybe if we have a decent relationship with our mother, then, we'll send her flowers on Mother's Day. We'll be, quite good, right? But, and we think, okay, my mother in this life has been very kind. Okay, now when I go home and, to visit, I'll, wash the dishes for her and whatever. I don't know what we do with our mothers, right? But see, the thing is, if we're willing to, do all that for our mother of this life, okay, then it's like, the kindness that was given, whether it was yesterday or 10 years ago, the level of kindness is the same, right? If someone, bought us a meal 25 years ago, or they bought us a meal yesterday, the level of kindness that our mother gave us in our last life, then same as the level of kindness our mother gave us in this life. So now here what Chandragoman is saying, right? There is nothing more shameful than to work for your own liberation, neglecting those whom you do not recognize due to the process of death and rebirth. Okay, so you see, all the sentient beings have been our mothers, yet we don't recognize that because in each process of death and rebirth, we then forget, or most of us, I think, forget our past lives. But if we could see, the intricate web of relationships that we've had with each sentient being, if we could have borrow just the Buddha's omniscient mind for a little bit, just to see this point, that the people we interact with, the people we come into contact with on a daily basis, how not just once, but so many times, made all these sacrifices for us, gave us everything we needed, then of course, our hearts would just, melt, and we would then just uncontrollably want to benefit everyone we come into contact with. What do you think? Yes, thank you. So, yeah. Anyway, so that is a little bit about the 7-point cause and effect and instructions. Okay. Since there is no sentient being of the 6 types who has not been my father and mother, please bless me to think I must fulfill their purpose. Okay. And then here, how do we fulfill their purpose? Okay. So here, as we saw in the last session about the suffering of samsara, then, you know, as long as sentient beings are under the power of their karma and afflictions, then they're only going to experience one sort of unsatisfactory event or experience after another, right? So even if we were to, you know, give them breakfast in bed, send them flowers, you know, take care of them when they're sick, all those things, while good, right? As long as they're in samsara, they're going to experience suffering endlessly, right? We reflected on this with regard to ourself. When we reflect upon this with regard to ourself, then this wish for us to become liberated should arise, you know, fairly naturally. But then when we view the others in the same kind of lens and seeing how they also are drowning in the ocean of samsara, then we see the only way to really repay their kindness is to lead them to be free of suffering altogether. And then there's the question, well, how can we do that when we ourselves are not liberated, when we ourselves have a lot of suffering? And actually, the truth is, we can do very little. I mean, in regards to leading them to liberation and enlightenment, right? You know, because at the very least, to really lead someone to liberation, you have to lead them to realize emptiness. And if you yourself haven't even realized emptiness, then, you know, I think, yeah, Dharmakirti says in the Pramanavartika that it's, you know, difficult to explain the causes that you yourself haven't realized. Okay, so that means the cause of achieving nirvana means realizing emptiness. So you can't explain to someone how to realize emptiness if you haven't realized emptiness. Yet I do that a few times every week. So I'm going against Dharmakirti's guidance. But anyway, yeah. Maybe you guys can prove Dharmakirti wrong. One of you realize emptiness, please. Okay. So then you see, we then turn away from the lower happiness of nirvana. We don't see that as a particular, you know, monumental goal, but we then see that the way to truly lead them to be free from samsara is to become omniscient Buddhas, right? And there, you know, I think just in the past couple of weeks when I was reflecting on this, a new kind of thought came to my mind. I want to share with you. You're the first people I'm sharing this with, okay? All right. So, you know, many times we talk about the four tenet systems, right? And we were talking about how sometimes the Buddha says things that aren't, you know, to be literally taken, right? Okay. So one of the really amazing things about the Buddha, right, and the need for having the omniscient mind is that the Buddha is the one who can see, right? Although in general, the highest view is the view of the Prasangika Madhyamika, right? But the Buddha could see which of the sentient beings actually is not ready to receive teachings on the Madhyamika, and would therefore know, okay, I'm going to teach this person the Chittamatra school. Do you understand? So, yeah, you know, maybe when you guys start to teach later, this will have a bit more significance. But I know from my own, you know, very limited abilities, right? So when I teach, then it's like, okay, Prasangika, they say it's the best. I'm going to teach the Prasangika view, right? But actually, if I had, you know, omniscience or even some good level of clairvoyance, I might be able to say, oh, hey, Dilshad, hi. Yeah, sorry, we're going to be talking about Prasangika. This Zoom call is not for you. You come back later when we talk about Chittamatra, right? But I can't do that. You understand? So then this becomes like a very real, like kind of practical, tangible example about why omniscience is needed. We need to know all phenomena, because actually what we need to know is sentient beings' mind streams. We need to know their, mental disposition. We need to know their karma, so that we can teach them and guide them in the most beneficial way. That's why we need to become enlightened, not just so we can, explain the, extremely hidden phenomena about the very subtle workings of karma. But the fundamental reason is regarding the view of emptiness. Okay. Then, please bless me to generate the precious Bodhicitta by equalizing and exchanging myself with others, and to follow the conduct of the conqueror's sons, the 6 paramitas, and so forth. All right. So this is the second method of generating bodhicitta, equalizing and exchanging self for others. All right. So now here, I have video so I can show you, right? So remember, our self-cherishing mind holds us at a higher level than the rest of sentient beings, right? So then, when we practice the 7-point cause and effect instructions, by meditating how all sentient beings have been our mother, we gradually increase our level of concern for others. But here, in the equalizing and exchanging self for others, we do the reverse, where we instead kind of knock down our self-cherishing mind, okay? Although there is a bit of, when we meditate on the advantages of cherishing others, we also, notch that up a bit, but we do both, right? Okay. So, equalizing and exchanging myself with others. So what introductory course to say that, oh yeah, I'm you and you are me, everything is one, some kind of, new age sentiment like this, right? But equalizing and exchanging self with others means that this level of concern that we have for ourselves and our own well-being, we first equalize that with others, and then we exchange that with others. Means we then, formerly in the past, we've only considered our own happiness to be most important and supreme. The Mahayana practitioners will then consider the welfare and well-being of others to be the most important, and will totally neglect themselves. Do you understand? So what is being equalized and exchanged is the level of concern we have for our own or others' happiness, well-being, so forth. Okay. So now, how do we do that? Okay. So here in the in the equalizing phase, right? Then there is this the basic thought is that all of us, all sentient beings, are alike in wanting happiness and not wanting suffering, right? And therefore, what is the reason why we should only work for our own happiness and not others? So in some of the Lamrim texts, you'll see, if there were 10 beggars that came, and they all were equal in their hunger and their want for food, then how could you justify, giving to one and not another when everyone is the same level of hunger, right? So similarly, since all sentient beings are equal in wanting happiness and wanting to avoid suffering, then what reason can we really give to work for only, a subset of those sentient beings, and not all of them? So when we think about that, then we come to understand there is no, logical basis for the self-cherishing mind, right? And another kind of example how to meditate, some we can say oral instructions that His Holiness the Dalai Lama often gives, is to kind of imagine yourself as being an impartial judge, and you hold on one side. Just imagine there's one person, and on the other side there are 100 people. Okay, and then you ask yourself, which is more important? Whose happiness, benefit is more important, the 100 or the one? And most of us, I hope, would think the 100, of course, right? But then when we switch out and that one person on the one side is me, then the whole calculus becomes somehow different, right? We need to be a bit honest with ourselves. I share this story, and I'm sorry, many of you who have seen me attended some of my teachings before, you've heard this, but it was a very instructional for me. Many years ago, when I was living in New York, I there's a lot of people who live on the street, homeless people who ask for money. And at one night, a beggar asked me for money, and it's like, oh, sorry, I don't have any change. And he said, well, I take 20s. You understand? A 20 dilshad. We say a 20 is a $20 bill. Okay? All right. You see my point? So normally, it's very interesting. Even though we like to think of ourselves as compassionate, and look at me, I give to the poor, I'm such a great generous guy. When it comes down to it, and I think I might have even just come out of a nice dinner where when it's dinner for myself, I mean, those days, $20 for dinner, no problem. When it comes to the how do you say, benefiting the self-cherishing mind, giving myself happiness, then very easy to justify spending 20, 30, 40, $50 on a nice night out, right? But when it comes to benefiting another sentient being who needs it a lot more than I, then the thought is, okay, let me get the change. Let me get an amount of money, in other words, that is so minuscule that if that change somehow was lost, if it fell down the gutter, I wouldn't miss it. Actually, at that point, even giving the $20 bill to that person, it wouldn't have affected my purchasing power or my economic class or anything in a real substantial way, right? But we don't think about that. We don't think that this $20 actually would mean so much more to this person. It could actually change their life in a way where they could have 4 meals, right? we go to the fancy restaurants and, you know, spend in one meal what, you know, other people could, you know, eat for a few days, right? So why is that? Because the self-cherishing mind is still operating, right? So then just by using analysis, by using reasoning, we come to see that the self-cherishing mind actually has no kind of basis or justification in reality. Okay. All right. That's one bit of mind training that we do. Okay. Then the next thing we have to consider is it's like this. Basically, since from beginningless rebirth till now, we've been totally in service, we've been the slaves, as it were, of the self-cherishing mind. Then we ask ourselves, how has this strategy really played out for us? We've only been working for our own happiness. Then, have we achieved it? Have we achieved the happiness that we were looking for? No way. So, Shantideva. Okay, and not only have we not achieved happiness, what have we achieved? Up until now, endless samsaric suffering. Okay, that's also important to note. Okay, so Shantideva, our friend, he says, self-cherishing has harmed me in all my myriad lifetimes in cyclic existence. You, O mind, though you spent countless eons wanting to accomplish your own welfare, through such great hardship, you have accomplished only suffering. Yes? Okay. Meanwhile, right, if formerly you had acted for others' welfare, this condition, which lacks the perfect happiness of Buddhahood, could not have possibly occurred. Means you would have achieved enlightenment if you had gotten rid of the self-cherishing mind and worked for others' welfare. You would have achieved enlightenment by now. Okay, so I think it was Einstein who said that the very definition of, you know, insanity is, you know, to do the same thing over and over again and to expect different results. Yes, I'm paraphrasing. Okay, so in this way, okay, not just Einstein, but the Buddha because we not wanting to suffer, then what do? We follow the same strategy of cherishing the I and ignoring sentient beings and hope that magically, you know, one day we'll get the happiness that we're looking for without changing the strategy. So in that way, you know, Shantideva also says that there's no need for many words, that the childish beings work only for their own benefit, whereas the able ones, means the Buddhas, work only for the benefit of others. And look at the difference between the two. Okay, so the difference between the two is the childish ones, means us or me in particular, then though we act for our own welfare, we never have achieved that welfare. But the Buddhas, who work only for the welfare of others, then somehow paradoxically, they've achieved the highest state for both themselves as well as others. For themselves means they've achieved enlightenment. They're completely free of all suffering. Every one of their, you know, consciousness, not only does it realize emptiness and all phenomena directly, but it's also, you know, conjoined with great bliss. They never, you know, suffer again. They don't get sick. They don't get, you know, physically sick or homesick. Okay, and then, you know, the ordinary beings like ourselves, Nothing but suffering. So just look at the difference between the two. And then we have to decide, okay, have we had enough of the self-cherishing mind? Is it time to maybe reevaluate our strategy and yeah, do something else? Huh? Is it time? Time for a change? A small change? Big change. Big change. Equalizing and exchanging self for others. So formerly in the past, as just as much, you know, kind of attention and care we took care of ourselves, then we do that for others, right? So that's what the Bodhisattvas do. That's what the Buddhas do. So yeah. Okay. So that's what it means. Then to follow in the conduct of the conqueror's sons, the six paramitas, and so forth. Okay. So conqueror's sons is another word of saying, a way of saying the bodhisattvas. So here, again, bodhi, enlightenment, sattva, being. So this mind that then, wishes to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings is the mind of bodhicitta. One who has that in an uncontrived way enters the Mahayana path. They become a bodhisattva. And then, as great as that mind is that wishes to free others from their suffering, and therefore needs to achieve enlightenment, sees the need and kind of signs up for it, then that alone isn't enough. You need to accumulate the causes for achieving enlightenment, okay? The main one actually, well, there are two. There's these, the accumulations of merit and transcendental wisdom, right? You've heard this? So the accumulation of transcendental wisdom is the meditation on emptiness conjoined with this mind of bodhicitta. And then the accumulation of merit is, the method side. So here it says the six paramitas, okay? So the conduct of the bodhisattvas, the six paramitas and so forth, those six paramitas or perfections, we have generosity, ethical discipline, patience, joyous perseverance, meditation, and wisdom, okay? Yes, all right. So the first three are the accumulation of the collection of merit. And then the last two, yeah, are the accumulation of wisdom. And then the fourth, the enthusiastic or joyous perseverance, then that basically is when one does one's practice, being very joyful to engage in virtue. So then that depends what kind of virtue you're engaging in. If while you're, meditating on emptiness, you do that with great joy and joyful perseverance, then the joyful perseverance associated with that goes into the accumulation of wisdom. Whereas when you're practicing generosity and you're joyfully persevering, then that joyful perseverance goes towards the collection of merit. Okay. All right. And so forth. Okay. So anyone know what the and so forth means? So I think that the and so forth is the four means of collecting disciples, okay, which some of you have heard before. So actually, as we become bodhisattvas, as we go through our bodhisattva career, our main job actually, it started to rain, I'm just gonna close the window. Our main job actually is to draw as many beings into our circle as possible. Create as many karmic links, karmic connections with beings as possible. And so you see in the Buddha's life story then, you know, the first 5 disciples that he taught in Sarnath, right? The first turning of wheel of Dharma, he had in previous lifetimes, you know, given his own blood to feed them when they were, you know, blood drinking cannibals. You see many stories like that in the Golden Light Sutra. Then there was the 10,000 fish disciples, right? That the Bodhisattva recited the Tathagata's name, recited some verses explaining dependent origination, and therefore through the power of that, they then became in the Buddha's retinue. You understand? So these 4 ways of gathering disciples is one of the other activities of the conqueror's sons or the bodhisattvas. And yikes. And those 4 are to first attract beings into your kind of circle through acts of generosity, and then to speak kind of kind words to them, so they kind of feel nice when they're around you and they want to come back for more. And then to give instruction to them according to their needs and desires, right? And then lastly is to practice in accord with your own teachings. So in other words, not be a hypocrite. So in that way, then one can, draw sentient beings into your circle, and then later, when you become enlightened, you make prayers that they also get born in your retinue, and you can then lead them to enlightenment. Okay, so maybe we open it up for questions.
Hello, Venerable. Thank you for these teachings. I'd like to ask, similar to the question I asked last time, is what role does self-cherishing have in collecting negative karma?
Sorry. I have to refill my water. I heard your question. Just 1 minute. Yeah. It has started to rain here. Is it too loud?
No.
Can you hear the? Okay. All right. So Shanti's question was, what role does the self-cherishing mind have in collecting negative karma? Okay. So the time, okay. So like, for example, let's just be clear. When my self-cherishing mind was operating, okay, you know, I didn't give to the beggar. Okay, fine. But you see, you can imagine other circumstances when you actually were like stealing, or you're, you know, harming, killing a mosquito. In those times, right, like for example, killing the mosquito, you think that your slight discomfort of experiencing the mosquito bite, you know, is so much more important that you avoid that than this mosquito's life is. And then you kill the mosquito, right? When you actively steal from someone, you think that, okay, though this possession belongs to them, you know, I'm more important than them. So me having this wealth or possession is, you know, more important than this other person. Okay. So the self-cherishing mind is operating there. When you look in the text, you know, Shantideva, he seems to be saying that all of our negative karma has come under the operation of the self-cherishing mind. Yeah? do you get that sense from Shantideva?
Yeah, I mean, we all have self-cherishing mind until we are Buddhas, right? So,
Yeah. So no, but I was asking, when you read Shantideva, do you get the sense that the self-cherishing mind is operating in each and every instant of collecting negative karma?
yes, maybe, yes.
So I'm not sure. We would have to analyze if that is strictly speaking true. Okay. But for sure, when you look just at the 10 non-virtues, um, the 3 of body and the 4 of speech, you can see pretty easily how the self-cherishing mind would be operating in those. You know, when we start to talk about like the non-virtue of wrong view, right? Whether the self-cherishing mind is operating, anyway, it's subject to a bit of debate. Yeah, but for sure, in the times that we're harming others, then, you know, if we cherish the other being more than ourselves, then it'd be impossible that we would kill, right?
So
Okay.
how does it give rise to delusion? I mean, we know how, I mean, it's explained by Nagarjuna how we give rise to delusion and then create negative karma through self-grasping ignorance. But where does self-cherishing mind come in there?
Yeah. So it's a little bit less clear in terms of the causal sort of relationship, right? Right. I've not seen it explained in the kind of causal relationship that Nagarjuna explains when he talks about self-grasping. Okay. So yeah, the exact mechanism I'm not really clear, so I don't want to, you know, mislead you. But even, you know, Shanti, even forgetting that exact causal relationship, I hope you're able to understand how the self-cherishing mind is very problematic and leads to a lot of, you know, problems for both ourselves and others.
Yes, Venerable.
And therefore we need to abandon it. Okay, next question. Natalia, yes.
I do understand when you use the example about 1 versus 100, and then when we exchange and put ourselves in that one place, you know, do the 100 people become more important than you? And then you followed up saying then we should totally neglect ourselves. And what I find confusing is, how can we be of benefit to others if we totally neglect ourselves?
Yeah, okay. Sorry, is the rain too loud now?
That's good, it's
It
good.
is.
It's okay. No, we can still hear
Oh,
you.
okay. I can't hear myself. All right, all right. So I was using a bit of hyperbole there. Okay. So yes, you're right. You guys, Dilshad, you know what hyperbole is? I'm exaggerating a little bit. Okay. To make a kind of bigger point. So of course, you see, like His Holiness the Dalai Lama says, yeah, that if you want to be happy, I'm sorry, if you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion. Okay. So when we say neglecting ourselves, it is like viewing the self-cherishing mind as the real enemy and doing everything we can to, combat it. Now, in so doing, we actually open up a whole new world of happiness and well-being for ourselves. And the path to enlightenment is then open, okay? So it's more in this kind of the mind we have to train in, yeah, is to conceive of others as being more important than ourselves, okay? But of course, as we talked about in the Precious Human Rebirth, right, we have this body which is, extremely useful for practicing Dharma, so it doesn't mean that we starve ourselves or like flay ourselves on our back and like hurt ourselves, torture ourselves, things like this. It's more of the mindset shift that needs to change, whereas the neglect, the level of neglect that we had for others, not even thinking about others, then even if we say, oh, totally neglect yourself, well, I don't know, even I tell myself that and it doesn't happen, so it's more like using this kind of very strong language. It will move the bar a bit, so it's more of a kind of rhetorical device I was using. Okay. Are there any questions maybe on the other live streaming services?
I have asked them, but no questions so far, Venerable.
Wow. Oh, Archana. Yeah.
Yeah, just about the example of the beggar you gave, right? So I think whatever actions we do, we can actually justify ourselves. So if we spend $50 over dinner, like I can say that, okay, some 10 people are employed because of me and other people like this who eat dinner and spend $50. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can also say that if I give $1 to the beggar and, he might most probably get drunk and, beat up someone. So, and we see that happening as well. So we really don't have the exact way to judge the consequences of what we do.
Yes.
So then it's really our motivation and the results of whatever actions we do, however well-meaning they may be, could be something different.
Okay. So is there a question?
So so that is it really self-cherishing, or it's basically also involves our inability to decide correctly?
Right. Okay. So this, by the way, is another reason why we need to become omniscient, right? So yes, you are right that we don't know, if we give the money to the beggar, what he or she is going to do with it, and so forth. So we always say that we need to combine our compassion with wisdom. Okay, so as much as we can, we have to think about the sort of likely consequences of our various actions, and then make the decision based on that. And of course, since we don't have omniscience or clairvoyance, then we're going to make mistakes. That's the whole point of why we need to become enlightened, right? Only the enlightened one is doesn't make mistakes. Okay, but then does that mean that we don't do anything? Well, no, we should still try to do the best we can given our limitations and given that we don't know what's going to happen. And this is then not to say that there won't be occasions that if we see someone who's obviously drunk and standing outside of a liquor store and ask us for money, we could, with a mind actually of compassion, not give them money, right? It even says in the Lamrim Chenmo, like for example, if someone would ask you for a weapon, they say, "Oh, I'm going to murder this person," and they come and ask you for a weapon. Actually, it would be a fault of the Bodhisattva's conduct to give them a weapon, right? But the motivation behind you not giving isn't one of self-cherishing; it's actually one of compassion, right? And similarly, it's within the realm of possibility that you could go to a fancy dinner with the mind of bodhicitta, right? So this is up to us to watch our own minds. When we read the text, we know about the kind of generally what these different minds are like, and then it's up to us to check what is operating. And of course, at our level in the path, it is very difficult to have a pure mind of cherishing others, and there'll always be a kind of tinge of self-cherishing for a long time on the path. Even we do things that are seemingly good to benefit others, then maybe there'll be like 80% cherishing others, 20% cherishing ourselves, but that doesn't mean we don't do the action anyway, right? So anyway, start where you are, do what you can, and gradually over a long period of time, then we get better. Okay.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you. I saw there was one question that came up from Sanjukta. Let me open up my chat box. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, this is kind of what we're just talking about here, right? Yeah. So again, I think for us, we're not going to have 100% pure cherishing others motivation. We're going to have a split between cherishing ourselves and cherishing others. And I guess how we can check, it's kind of like this. One thing that just a small example to give you, right? So I went to a fancy university in the US, right? And there's a big kind of alumni giving, right? They have a multi-billion-dollar endowment, and so they ask their alumni to give every year, and then they send out a publication afterwards with the alumni giving kind of results, and they have by class, they have your name, right? And if you've given over a certain amount, they put you in bold, and then if you've given over another amount, they put like some kind of star and all these things, right? Okay, so then, or you can put anonymous. Okay, you can put anonymous for your in there, right? And so one year, okay, please don't think I'm praising myself, right? But you know, one year when I was looking through, it was like maybe in a whole class, there might be like 1, 2 anonymous, and everyone else had their names. And I was just like, what is going on? I was a bit surprised. You know what I mean? So this is a kind of like very, little bit easier to see that you're like, okay, if I just do anonymous, then also that doesn't then, you know, make it totally free of self-cherishing, because then, you know, you can also be like, oh, well, yeah, I'm, you know, cherishing others. I don't have any self-cherishing, and then get proud about being the anonymous guy, right? So it's very, very, very slippery. It's very difficult, okay? But, you know, there's this, this thought, right? We start where we are, right? And so, oh yeah. So there's that story of Geshe Ben Gungel, right, in Tibet, you know, who is the monk, and when they were serving yogurt, curd, in one of the pujas, he was kind of in one of the last rows, and then when he saw them like scooping out, you know, scoop, 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 this kind of worry arose, like, oh, are they going to run out of yogurt before they reach me, right? And so then what he did, you know, he then noticed his self-cherishing mind, and then you know, he turned over his bowl, and he told the people when they came, oh, my self-cherishing has already had the yogurt, you know. So in these little kind of, you know, victories where we're, you know, noticing, we're watching what's going on in our minds, we can check, right? But in our morning, you know, motivation practice, yeah, it's going to be, you know, quite mixed, right? And there's no kind of flip a light switch on, and you know, the darkness of self-cherishing goes away. We have to, you know, just slowly chip away at it, you know, day after day, year after year. So I'm sorry, Sanjukta, if you know, I don't have the magic bullet for you. If I did, I would use it on myself first. So yeah, just you know, try to do what you can, and you know, try as much as possible, not just in the morning, but throughout the day, see when these you know, self-cherishing mind, or the mind that wishes to cherish and benefit others, is operating. Okay. Okay, so is that it?
Thank you, Venerable.
Nishita put up her hand.
Hi, Venerable. So this is specifically based on my, you know, subjective lens of, you know, interpreting things. So when you spoke about self-cherishing, what was like popping up in my head now, especially in our cultural context, I was thinking when you spoke of, you know, say 100 people are there and there's this one person, that analogy, like, okay, it must be a blanket statement, but by and large, culturally, we are taught to put others' happiness as a priority. Okay, like especially when it comes to family, etc., etc. It's like, say, if it's my happiness or whether my family's, you know, like my parents, grandparents, extended family, their happiness matters in terms of the choices that I make. So we are wired that way, okay? And it's only recently with all this, you know, exchange of different culture, exchange of whatever, there's this new idea of prioritizing your happiness, self-care. This has all popped up. So I'm trying to understand. I have seen in our families through different generations, how women have always put others' needs as, you know, and others' happiness as priority. And I really don't think they have had a very happy life. And I am consciously trying to make my happiness a priority here. So when you say these teachings, I'm trying to make myself understand, am I going against, you know, what Dharma is actually requesting me to do, not to, you know, make my needs, my happiness a priority, but like how the Bodhisattva goals and aspirations are. Should I go for that? Yeah. So that's just.
Okay. So, yeah, very good question. So I'll say this first, right? You see, the Bodhisattva, when they're talking about cherishing others, you know, it's the equalizing and exchanging self for others, means that all the sentient beings then would be held in kind of equal kind of importance, right? So then what you're talking about in the family, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but it would be like, you know, your family is important. The family unit is more important than just you. But, you know, the other people, you still have this, you know, those three categories of like the friend, enemy, and stranger, right? Right. So in that, you know, it's even for us. Yes, we have, you know, forget about the family. We do have some level of people, our close friends, you know, family, that we do care what happens to them, whether it is, you know, happiness or suffering, right? Then we might have a few enemies, but the vast majority of sentient beings, we totally disregard what's going on for them. Okay, so what you're describing in the family system, it's not that, oh, this is a big antidote to the self-cherishing mind. It is like the kind of, there's a how do you say, it's a little bit expansive, you know, but it's not going the whole way to you know, encompass all the sentient beings. Okay, now there is this this one kind of thought which you know, is prevalent in Asian communities, where it's this kind of, you know, the society or the family unit is more important than the self. Whereas, you know, in a lot of Western cultures, it's this thought of the kind of rugged individual. Okay, so but all that is, it's not exactly what, you know, Shantideva and you know, Mahayana Buddhism is talking about, right? You know, Rinpoche, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, he mentioned, he's like, okay, you know, some people, they really like dogs, right? They really like dogs, okay? And then, you know, they'll be there feeding the dogs and, you know, playing with the dogs. But then, you know, when it comes to cats, they don't like, right? And some vice versa, right? So he quoted this Lama, Rongpu Tugu, who said that that kind of mind is actually attachment. It's not you know, cherishing others, right? As long as we have this kind of, you know, conditional love, as it were, that, okay, you're part of, you know, this group or this class or this species, then I'll benefit you, but then the other ones I won't. Then, you know, that's not the mind that we're trying to you know, develop here in the Mahayana, right? So now for you, in a more practical way, you see, then you have to ask, okay, what is your family asking you to do, right? And is it in
Venerable, we can't hear you. Maybe if people can turn off their videos. I think Namjongla's internet is very weak right now. Namjong La, we can't hear you. Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Hi, Namjong La.
Okay, I'm back. Great.
We have turned off our videos. I think your network connection is very weak there.
Yes, I
Can
think
you
so
hear
too.
us? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Could you repeat what you were telling?
What was the last thing you heard me say? Anyway,
Namjong La, you were saying about with, like, you were giving the context that when it comes to aspirations, it's not just about our immediate circles, but the larger circles. But
yeah,
like,
yeah,
for
yeah.
example, now that I've shared about my personal context, you're going to elaborate how I can,
Yeah.
practically, go ahead and.
Right. So there, one has to analyze, investigate, right? What are these things that your family is asking you to do? Okay, and are those in accord with the Dharma teachings? Are they in accord with your own kind of development, right? And you have to sort of decide. And it's very difficult to make a sort of hard and fast rule that you always have to follow your family, or you never follow your family, or these kinds of things. You have to take each kind of situation individually, and use your discriminating wisdom to decide the right course of action.
Yeah, thank you. I'm with you on that. Completely with you on that. So see, the question again about cherishing self. Now I'm again thinking back to okay, not about boo-hoo-hoo stuff, but by and large, like colleges, childhood years, not just mine, but many other people I've seen. See, people who are too nice, too sweet, they all get bullied. Okay, so I mean, see now, if like we are putting out a teaching here, you've given a very beautiful talk. I'm gonna share it with so many of my friends and cousins and many people in my circle. So another thing I was just thinking is like, right now we are at a times in which it is taught that being aggressive is good for your own protection, and then now we have a teaching from you based on all this beautiful philosophy that cherishing self is not good. So, and how do you come to terms with that in a society where when you don't put yourself as a priority, you end up getting treated like a doormat, or you end up getting bullied?
Sorry. What do you say in a society when you don't put yourself as a
For
priority?
example, when you don't put yourself as a priority in any social context, like you're trying to be very zen about if anyone talks bad to you, if anyone treats you bad, I always think of that story that you told, that there was this monk and there was this mosquito, and there were a lot of mosquitoes, and he just removed his top so that all the mosquitoes can feed on his blood. Like that concept of maybe they were my mothers in one of my past lives, so let them have it all. I don't mind. So, that's the thing about what you spoke about, taking a teaching and having it applied too sincerely, with lots of sincerity, with lots of love, care, and then you realize that maybe you kind of went overboard with it. And then, okay, let me just collect my thoughts together. To put it very simple, the current generation the people of my, age group, when we think of cherishing self, we think it's a good thing because it kind of protects us from being bullied. It kind of protects us from, not letting anybody treat us like, sorry to use the word shit. It really is good for us so that nobody does any bullshit with us. So, yeah, I mean, so yeah, that's what my thought. I was just putting it out there. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So a few things. Okay. So one, again, I'm going to re-emphasize this concept of, we have to start where we are. Okay. So even Shantideva says that okay, you read the stories of these great bodhisattvas, giving their blood to all the mosquitoes, chopping off their limbs, and giving away their own body parts. Okay. Yeah, but Shantideva himself says that until we're able to give away body parts as if we were giving away vegetables, don't give away body parts. Do you understand? Start with vegetables.
Okay.
You understand? So starting where you are is, okay, we now are mostly operating with the self-cherishing mind, holding ourselves to be most important. Okay, so let's say that is like 90% self-cherishing, 10% cherishing others. Okay. So gradually we're trying to go down, so we don't just jump off and like have delusions of grandeur that we're a bodhisattva and start doing all that tomorrow. But with the little things on a daily basis, this week we're 90% self-cherishing. Okay, next week can we get a 1% uptick every month? Okay, the little things that we kind of do over a long period of time, that's what we need. Not to make some you show this to your friends and they're like, oh wow, I just heard about Bodhicitta, and then they like have some kind of big like explosion of activity, but then it fizzles out, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's one thing. But the second thing is, yes, in society, in this day and age, since it's degenerate times, it's quite difficult. So we do have to, sometimes, to avoid getting ripped off or whatever, we might have to, show an aspect, right, like an actor.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So one can even, for example, if you look in the world, there's a lot of protests going on versus various governments, right? So you can even imagine a situation where someone with a mind of bodhicitta, wanting for the society and the world at large to be a better place, would go to a protest and shout and take action. So it's not this thought that, okay, oh, now I'm a Buddhist, I have to be very meek and not say anything, and like you know what I mean?
Not a
like
pacifist. Not a pacifist.
Yeah. But with the emphasis being on our own mind, okay, you take care of the mind, you watch what's going on in your own mind and try to make your motivation as pure as possible. And then sometimes you might need strong action. Sometimes you might need to shout at others. You might need to stand up for yourself so they don't treat you like garbage. So, but that would be done with the larger motivation of compassion and cherishing others. It's possible. It can be done. Okay.
Yeah.
But I will say, just to push back on this notion that if we sort of don't stand up, for ourselves and don't be aggressive, then we won't get what we want on a worldly level. that needs a little bit of investigation, you know,
Mm.
because yeah, His Holiness always mentions this one quotation from Shantideva that unless we're able to truly exchange ourselves for others, enlightenment is not possible. And even in samsara, we will find no happiness.
Mm.
Okay.
Mm.
So when we really think about it, this thought, always thinking about ourselves, you know, that's the one that's causing the problems. And so as I like to, you know, always bring up the Indian rickshaw drivers, right, who I have some special karma with, you know, for a long period of time, I was getting very upset when, you know, they would rip me off, you know, and you know, yelling and blah blah blah. I mean, I wasn't yelling, but just say as an example, if you kind of let go of that, right, and just say, okay, you know what, it's 20 rupees, this guy wants more, or 50 rupees, okay, I'm just going to give it to him, you know, it's not worth it, right? Then you at least you know, preserve some level of mental peace without having to get aggressive, you know. So in everything with life, you know, there's this saying to pick your battles, right? So those things that are kind of, you know, truly meaningful, that are worth fighting for, then yes, we should yeah, focus on those things. Whereas some of the other things, the kind of you know, details about the 8 worldly concerns, you know, then I think we'll lead a more kind of peaceful and balanced life if we learn to kind of let go of
Not engage with the basic, just disengage. Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Venerable.
Thank you. Okay, so maybe we end it here. So, oh wow, yeah, we've gone over time. So let's end it here. And we can just do it in a very brief way. So to think that please dedicate all the merit that we've created here today, as well as all the 3-time merit accumulated by the numberless sentient beings and numberless Buddhas, that this mind of bodhicitta, which cherishes others more than ourselves, may arise in our hearts, as well as in the hearts of all the sentient beings, all of our family members, and yeah, all the sentient beings in the whole universe. And may those who have already generated the mind of bodhicitta, may their bodhicitta never decline, but increase forevermore. Then we also dedicate all 3-time merit accumulated by ourselves, as well as all the numberless merits accumulated by the sentient beings and the Buddhas, that there be no more war, no more illnesses, no more natural disasters or economic problems. And I'm thinking in particular the problems due to the pandemic of COVID-19 and all the natural disasters going on, the fires going on in California now, the flooding in China, all the various natural disasters in the world, may they instantly be pacified. And then we also dedicate for the long lives of the spiritual friends, particularly His Holiness Dalai Lama Zopa Rinpoche, and that all their last we'll see. So please think, which exists but is empty. May the I who exists but is empty. When I say empty, I mean empty of true existence. And thereby may I lead all sentient beings who exist but are empty, and thereby yeah, lead them to the state of enlightenment, which exists but is empty. Okay, so Shabira just submitted a question, but maybe time is up, huh? So we'll see you next week, and Shabira, your question will be first in the queue. Okay, so everyone, thank you very much, and please be safe and try to benefit others in the small ways that we can do, right? Start where we are. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Venerable.